Welcome to Husband Talking. Explore riveting tales of infidelity with us. Please subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's begin.
In the peaceful routine of our life together, I uncovered a truth that shattered the core of what I thought was a loyal marriage. Sophia, the center of my universe, had hidden her secret meetings behind the mask of everyday life. "It's just work," she murmured, her voice a symphony of falsehoods. I was either too trusting or too blind to notice the clues until a misplaced letter exposed the web of betrayal. This is my rude awakening. Sit back and witness it unfold. I learned that the most important thing in life is having reliable people who stand by you in tough times. I was unlucky and discovered that my wife had cheated on me entirely by mistake, and I had to make a difficult but critical decision that would shape the rest of my life. My wife Sophia tried to control her emotions as we walked across campus, leaving our youngest son's dorm room after just helping him settle in. Sophia and our neighbor Anna, whose son shared a room with ours, were both in tears. "It's surreal to see our boys all grown up," Anna said, grabbing for a tissue from her purse. Sophia accepted one of the tissues given. "It's incredibly difficult to understand," she said, dabbing at her eyes. "They are now responsible for making several decisions." As we approached the parking lot, my mind was preoccupied with my meaning and conclusion. Doubts crept in. Should I make the final call after over 12 years of planning? I began to question the timing and necessity of the entire process. Sophia grabbed for my hand, but I avoided her move by taking the car keys from my pocket. Though we were still some ways from my sedan, I observed our neighbor Anna casting a puzzled look my way. "It's okay, John," Sophia reassured me. "I understand how you feel. If only you really did," I considered my ideas, recalling the critical event that set everything in action. Sophia and I had recently celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary, and it happened to be election year. During that period, politicians running for office accused one another of being bigger thieves and liars. I couldn't help but wonder, when these unscrupulous politicians died, would they require a grave to be buried in, or would they just screw into the ground? That afternoon, I checked the mail and was happy to discover a padded envelope amid the usual junk mail and invoices. I won a bid on Amazon Marketplace for a set of SD cards, and the delivery was long delayed. My excitement quickly changed to sadness when I opened the padded envelope to see another huge manila envelope inside. "Damn," I exclaimed as I opened the attached letter. I hoped this bid wasn't a hoax that had spoiled my day. Little did I know my current day, as well as many future days, were about to be devastated. "Hello, Sophia. I hope this mail finds you well. I recently admitted to my battle with alcoholism and have begun working through it with the help of my higher power and sponsor. I am now glad to state that I have been clean and sober for 6 months. As part of my rehabilitation journey, I am taking steps to make amends to individuals I have mistreated. Regarding our previous exchanges, I'm ready to put things right, but I'm unsure of the proper method. Only now, in my newfound sobriety, can I fully see the consequences of our acts, and I want to express my heartfelt regret without giving you any extra grief. Though it is a difficult decision, I must respectfully seek your forgiveness. If you prefer, I will respect your wishes and refrain from making future contact. Please do as you see fit with the enclosed things. I lack the strength to toss them, but I know that holding on to them just reinforces the temptation and memories they symbolize. With kind regards, Michael." I yelled with surprise. "What the hell?" I turned the now torn, padded envelope over to check the front. It became clear that it was addressed to my wife, Sophia. "Does Michael regret our actions?" I muttered aloud, perplexed. What actions? I just knew Michael as a former neighbor who had relocated some time ago. Michael was one of those people who appeared to be aimless, living in his parents' basement and frequently getting drunk. He claimed to own a photography business. Michael was a decade older than both Sophia and me. He was what we affectionately called a slinky, not especially useful for anything but could provoke a chuckle while tumbling downstairs. I recall Michael being forced to depart the premises following his parents' death, failure to pay property taxes, or other such obligations. My thoughts were disorganized, and it took me a moment to realize I was still holding the smaller manila envelope. Pushing aside the padded envelope and letter, I eagerly ripped into the big manila package. A cascade of 3.5 photographs poured out on the table. Among them were other photographs of Sophia looking a decade younger in provocative poses. She was dressed in a clinging top and shorts, which reminded me of something from the past. Flipping over one of the photos, I saw there was no date. Stepping into my home office, I selected a framed picture from the collection of family images on my desk. It featured Sophia sitting with our first kid, taken when he was less than 1 year old. Sophia had given me this photograph for Christmas. She donned the same as in the freshly arrived images. Even the lighting was strikingly similar to the photos I held in my hand. Turning over the framed photo, I noticed it was from 11 years ago. Finally, I had a timeline to link with the enigmatic photos. I browsed through the photos, following Sophia's transition from coy postures to bearing it all. With each layer of clothes removed, my heart rate skyrocketed. The final set featured Sophia engaging in explicit actions, in stark contrast to her innocent beginning. Some photos appeared to be staged by the person behind the camera, with tilted viewpoints capturing Sophia's humorous stare. 2 additional candid viewpoints revealed personal situations. Others were less controlled, possibly captured remotely or with a tripod, as seen by their off-center composition and slightly blurred focus. Collapsing onto my desk chair, a rush of dizziness washed over me, like if all the blood had left my head. How long had Sophia been unfaithful? I permitted myself to look around at the collage of images on my desk depicting my family. I tried to see if any more of them had Michael's stamp. The assortment represented the evolution of my family. There was Sophia at our wedding, Sophia with my eldest son when he was a baby, then with both of our boys as they grew up. Except for the first photo, all of the others wore the logos of various male photo studios. Suddenly, a terrifying thought entered my head: what if the boys aren't mine? I took the most current snapshot of my beloved wife and our 2 sons. They wore summer league baseball clothes. When I looked at my children, I felt the same sense of pride that every father does. Nonetheless, I attempted to take a more critical stance. While both boys had their mother Sophia's facial traits, they appeared to inherit my body and jawline. I reclined in my chair, exhaustion overcoming me. This was not helpful at all. Then, a startling thought hit me, prompting me to go through the desk drawers. Among the contents, I discovered medical paperwork filled by my sons for the forthcoming baseball season. Back in my day, such papers just had emergency contact information. Nowadays, it was about 6 pages long, covering food allergies, insurance information, waivers, prescription, and consent paperwork. It struck me how the paperwork for my children's baseball league seemed to exceed the huge loss of the treaty that ended World War II, which could fit on a single sheet of paper. After some searching, I found the information I was looking for in the comprehensive form, the blood types filled out by our family physician. I confirmed my blood type after taking out my Red Cross blood donor card from my wallet. Sophia had the same blood type. We frequently laughed about the convenience of being able to donate to one another. Relief washed over me when I realized that my oldest son likewise had type O blood, according to his form. With bated breath, I scanned my young son's form for his blood type information. The blood type proudly declared itself a positive in large black letters. Even without a medical degree, a beginner high school biology student understands that 2 people with type O blood cannot have a child with type A blood. I had assumed that my world couldn't fracture twice in 1 hour, yet it had. I stared at the words "a positive" on the screen for what seemed like an eternity, yearning desperately for them to change. However, they stayed unchanged. "You're a cheating woman," I screamed into the empty home, beating my fist against the desk. My mind was racing with confused thoughts. Should I end Sophia's life? No. I should leave Sophia. Perhaps murder and then departure? No. Simply take the boys and escape from Sophia. My sons were 9 and 11. I suspected that if questioned, they would support their father in a divorce. Or would they? Did they have a choice? These mental acrobatics lasted an hour, leaving me exhausted and without solutions. Drowning in more bizarre incidents, early tiredness overcame me, and I stumbled up the stairs before collapsing into bed. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, admiring my wife's back as she washed herself at the sink. I had skipped dinner the night before, and when she and the boys returned from the movies, after a difficult night's sleep, I felt strangely calm, almost numb. Nothing had changed inside the house. Sophia looked the same as before, but it felt as if someone had disclosed all of the magician's tricks to me. I was no longer in awe. Instead, I studied all of her actions and intentions. "Do you remember Joshua?" I inquired. Though I couldn't see her face, Sophia's body stiffened briefly before responding. "Chris? Our old neighbor, Chris?" she remarked. "It's been ages since I heard that name." I was just thinking about Chris and his photography interest. He was frequently taking photos of the neighborhood kids. "Do you think he might be a criminal or something?" Sophia chuckled, expressing relief. "Trust me, John, Chris was not interested in children." "And how are you so sure?" I trailed off. Sophia cleaned her hands with a dishcloth before summoning the boys to breakfast. Many mid-mornings, I noticed Chris, apparently hungover, attempting to surreptitiously take a woman out of their basement without his parents noticing. "You seem to be familiar with Chris' shenanigans," I commented. "Do you miss him?" "Not really," Sophia responded. "We got lucky when Anna moved in. Our children are basically inseparable now. Chris Bank foreclosed on a single mother, so Anna, our lovely neighbor, took over the mortgage on the house. She used her late police officer husband's life insurance money to purchase Chris' former home, which had children of similar ages. Ours and Anna's quickly became close friends. As she worked long hours as a single parent, we essentially adopted her children. It was just as easy to take two kids to a baseball game or the beach because they kept each other engaged. Sophia often taunted Anna about claiming her children as dependents on our tax returns. As a single mother, Anna lacked the necessary skills to perform basic household maintenance. Sophia playfully nicknamed me a house husband, but I wasn't quite ready to star in this old house. I was adept in the most basic house maintenance activities. My father, a competent craftsman, frequently joked, "If it can't be fixed with a hammer, it's an electrical problem." I didn't mind helping out at Anna's apartment. She was gorgeous and a genuine MILF. Anna never made any attempts toward me, and I also did not express any interest. My father stressed the importance of honoring our pledges, and I kept mine. Sophia approached me and gently slapped my shoulder in jest. "John, don't tell me you are still jealous of Chris after all this time." "The guilty conscience speaks first, Sophia. Do I have any reason to be jealous?" Sophia took a seat at the table and avoided eye contact while stirring her coffee. "Of course not," she responded. "Chris was a harmless alcoholic who was constantly taking photos of everything. He might have been a good photographer if he hadn't been drinking so much." I rested in my chair silently. Sophia took a fleeting peek up from her coffee mug before continuing, "Seriously, John, we had only just begun. You were working 2 jobs and taking classes while I stayed at home with our baby all day. After watching Barney for 10 hours and changing diapers, I desired adult connection. Everyone in the neighborhood was busy. Chris was simple. Well, he was present. I stayed mute. Sophia's frustration grew. "For heaven's sake, John, do you really think I was out having relationships with some middle-aged alcoholic while the baby was sleeping? Stop being so self-absorbed." I placed aside my coffee mug. "Sophia, you appear uneasy. They say that the best defense is a good offense. Do you have anything to share with me?" Sophia's countenance became hostile, and she abruptly stood up from the table. Our chat was interrupted by the lad's loud entry into the kitchen. I silently stood up from my seat and made my way upstairs. I abandoned any hopes of reconciliation. While I thought my rage at Sophia would subside, I knew that once shattered, trust could never be completely regained. "Are you positive you'll go through with this?" I questioned my brother David the next day in his office as he went through the photos, letters, and other documentation I had brought him. David, my brother from another set of parents, is from Eastern Europe where his parents fled during the Cold War. They lived next to us throughout my upbringing. David tragically lost his parents in an accident when we were just 6 years old. A social worker initially handed David's care to my family as a temporary arrangement while they looked for other relatives or foster care. However, David ended up staying with us since his case appeared to fall between the gaps or become lost in the bureaucratic churn. During those early days, I didn't realize the importance of David's presence. I treated it as an extended visit. It wasn't until later that I recognized the financial pressure this put on our working-class family. When I later asked my mother how we managed, she simply shrugged and said, "We tighten our belts a little and stretch the soup with more water." My father was always willing to aid anyone in need. Despite being religious, he believed that faith should be proved through actions rather than recitations, and he had little regard for organized religion. At the conclusion of our meal prayers, Dad would always say, "May there be more around the table next time, and protect us from your followers, Lord." Dad treated David much like he did me and my brothers, which, given Dad's fury, may be good or harmful. When I asked Dad why he took on another mouth to feed when we were already struggling, he just shrugged and answered, "That's what a man does." David had exceptionally fair blonde hair reflecting his Eastern European origin, but I had darker skin due to our parents' Southern Italian background. It typically aroused eyebrows when we identified ourselves as brothers. At a father-son gathering with my dad and David, someone mentioned that the mother must have really pale skin. My father said, "Yeah, she's translucent." David studied tirelessly at the law faculty and graduated with a higher education. A famous law firm was looking for him, and he was rapidly progressing toward partnership. Despite the fact that David worked over 80 hours per week, he embodied the image of an aspiring lawyer. He owned a fancy car, an apartment with a view of the city, and a wealthy spouse of breathtaking beauty who accompanied him to high-profile events. However, David's world was turned upside down when his fiancée cheated on him with his partner in the office. Despite the treachery, David remained with the company until the end of the year to receive incentives and benefits. He then arranged for the departure of top lawyers and big clients from the firm. This enormous exodus finally led to the demise of his former employer, which survived several years until declaring bankruptcy. David now ran a small law firm focusing on contracts, wills, and other legal issues. However, the majority of his income came from functioning as outside counsel in significant trials. We remained close, even though we were married and had 2 children. While going through my paperwork, David said, "John, I believe you are still reeling from the shock." I said sarcastically, "Take some time to gain perspective like you did. You are my personal hero for how you handled the event at your former legal company." "Not everybody can be a hero," David responded, attempting to infuse humor. "Some of us must sit on the sidelines and applaud as the parade passes by." He then became serious. "Listen, John, your wife Sophia is someone most people find difficult to see beyond themselves. We tend to focus on how we are treated and ignore the consequences of our actions on others. Are you attempting to channel Yoda now?" I exhaled. "I want out of this disaster. My retaliation will be to ensure that the cheating woman receives nothing and that everyone is aware of what she did. I'm not going to allow a woman to think she can play games with me and then use hormones as an excuse to treat me like an idiot." "All right, John. However, remember that wanting vengeance simply grants someone control over you. It demonstrates their ability to have a significant impact on you. Do not give them that delight. It's preferable to ignore the emotional hurt. I understand that it is not instantly satisfying, but it is the better method in the long run. Believe me, I've been there." David looked at his computer keyboard. "I do not specialize in family law. However, I know a guy from my previous practice who is a true shark. They call him Mr. Big Shot because he always deploys heavy artillery. This guy doesn't play around. Are you in? Are you sure you want to go this route? Go ahead and make the call, David." A week later, we found ourselves in a nice corner office downtown. Mr. Big Shot had just completed reading the large stack of paperwork I had brought in, including tax records, pay stubs, mortgage payments, paternity tests, wills, and so on. The list appeared never-ending. Mr. Big Shot took off his reading spectacles before speaking. "Let it go." I was caught aback by these statements from the intimidating lawyer known for his aggressive approach. "John, I understand there is a relationship between you and David, so I'll be honest. Let it go." Took me a time to reply. "You mean I should just pretend nothing happened, smile, and tolerate being taken advantage of?" Mr. Big Shot reclined in his chair. "Exactly. Unless you have video evidence that your wife Sophia force-fed your children Monster Energy as toddlers and organized fights for profit." He made a motion towards me. You currently have a beautiful wife, a home, and 2 great children. But with a little more effort, you may end up with a small apartment, no money, part-time custody of the kids, and your wife entertaining new male friends while you pay the bills. I'm talking about alimony, child support, and devoting more than half of your wages to savings. I was taken aback. Sophia holds a job. And why should I pay child support for a child who isn't my own? Mr. Bigshot seemed amused. John, I will gladly accept your money if you insist, but allow me to educate you on the realities and the legislation. Whatever your wife makes from that small part-time job at the hair salon is nothing compared to your income. Therefore, alimony is inevitable, only the amount and length are up for dispute. In terms of child support for a non-biological child, only 6 states in America allow a male parent to stop or avoid paying child support for a child who is not biologically his but was born during the couple's marriage. Unfortunately, we do not live in one of these states. What if I find out that Sophia knew all along that it wasn't my son? Wouldn't this be called fraud? Mr. Bigshot leaned in and rested his forearms on the enormous desk. Allow me to share a little secret with you. Assume we can prove that your wife knew the child wasn't yours but still represented him as yours. That would technically be fraudulent. However, it is a unique type of fraud that has no consequences and demands no return. Even if your wife revealed in a full-page ad in the San Francisco Chronicle that you were not the father, she is under no legal responsibility to reimburse you or suffer any consequences in all 50 states. Remember the unfortunate man in Florida who was paying child support to a lady he was not even married to? He ultimately received a DNA test that proved the child was not his. Nonetheless, the court ordered him to pay support, arguing it was in the best interests of the child. The case is most likely still pending in the courts, and by the time it is finalized, the child will have turned 18. Even if he wins, he won't get any of his money back. Can I try to recoup some of the money from my wife's unfaithful boyfriend? Most states allow only the mother to seek reparation. Only 2 states enable you as a male to attempt to reclaim funds. However, you must show that both the boyfriend and the mother were aware of the deceit. In addition, you must demonstrate that there was a considerable detrimental impact on the child's well-being and family life. And John, guess what? Unfortunately, our state lacks such a statute. I reclined in my chair as he proceeded to speak. Consider whether surrendering a man's pride is worth more than half of his assets, including spousal and child support. Money cannot buy back his self-esteem or restore his reputation. Is it better to stop things and take a chance on meeting someone who actually appreciates him than to suffer through a loveless marriage? David interjected, proposing that a marriage counselor could help them overcome these obstacles. Mr. Bigshot dismissed the suggestion with a wave of his hand. Counseling is helpful in fewer than 10% of situations. In my experience, it frequently warns the spouse, allowing them time to organize an exit strategy. More than 2/3 of women who attend therapy end up filing for divorce. Furthermore, more than 55% of women who cheat eventually leave their marriage, while the odds are slightly higher in jurisdictions with shared custody rules. Unfortunately, we don't live in one of those states. Our system is more of a winner-take-all scenario. The odds are strongly in favor of the mother in this case. How old are you? In your mid-30s? Yeah, I said, attempting to withstand the assault of emotional strikes. John, I regret to inform you that statistically, the most usual age for a wife to cheat on her partner is 45. If your partner has already been unfaithful, the risk that they will do so again climbs dramatically as they enter their 40s. The initial agony and shame from the prior indiscretion may have subsided, but recollections of what made it wonderful or exciting tend to stay and magnify over time. It's similar to a high school player who scored the winning point but had an injury in the process. The mind tends to minimize the pain while exaggerating the value of the accomplishment. The need to relive that moment can become compulsive. Whereas a middle-aged athlete may only be able to remember their children's sporting activities, a spouse may seek out extramarital connections in an attempt to rekindle the spark that began the affair. David expressed what everyone had been thinking: a cheater who has cheated before will continue to cheat. Mr. Bigshot extended his hands, palms facing upward. Nothing is absolute, but infidelity is on par with money as the second most common cause of divorce. I refuse to let it happen to me, I said between clenched teeth. You can swear all you want, John, Mr. Bigshot said. Swearing is the intermediate step between fleeing and fighting. Damn it, I said quietly. Is staying together more economical? Mr. Bigshot mused. Extramarital affairs cause concern for 68% of married couples. When children are present, the situation becomes more complex. Children with divorced parents are more likely to experience substance misuse, promiscuity, despair, and aggression disorders. In a divorce, there are no clear winners. Children are always the ones that suffer the most. I suddenly remembered my chat with my father when we found out we were expecting a child. John, Dad once observed, many men become fathers, but not all fathers embody true manhood. A real man places his children above all else. If there isn't enough food, he becomes hungry. If there isn't adequate shelter, he braves the cold. If there isn't enough money, he goes without. Strength is critical. You must be unwavering in your support for your family, not only putting up a show of strength but also resilient enough to seek and accept assistance when necessary. You want fully appreciate your strength until it's all you have, son. You may frequently make mistakes, but you must never lose faith in your beliefs. This is a fundamental characteristic of authentic masculinity. Your efforts may go unnoticed or even mocked. However, a true man does not want recognition. He works for the well-being of his family and children, demonstrating true manhood. I leapt from my seat and reached out to Mr. Bigshot. I want to express my gratitude for all of your insights. I've acquired a wealth of legal information. However, I don't suppose you'll need assistance at this moment. What amount do I owe you for your time, Mr. Bigshot smiled as he leaned in for a handshake. No charge, John. Just two old legal mates chatting. He turned to my brother David. Plus, I owe your brother a lot for getting me out of a rut at our old firm. I am doing much better now thanks to him. Please feel free to contact us at any time. My door is always open for you both. I mean it. As we drove back in David's car, I questioned him. Why didn't you quit right after you met your fiancée through a mentor? Why did you work for this company for nearly a year? David's jaw tensed before he spoke. My first inclination was to quit immediately. He chuckled gently. Actually, it was my second impulse. My first wish was to tell the old scoundrel everything I believed after I hauled him away from my fiancée. David halted to change the radio station. As soon as I left him lying with her, I rushed to my office and composed my resignation letter. Why didn't you turn him in? I was upset with Steve. Then I started to feel terrible for myself. Then I remembered my father's comments about self-pity, and we recited them while imitating his voice. Boys, you can feel sorry for yourself all you want, but it will lead to nothing. Let me know when you're finished and maybe we can talk. We laughed together before David proceeded. Anyway, I knew that there was no need for me to let the conduct of these two people indicate that I was entitled to a reward for my hard work. The following day, something unprecedented occurred. The most senior partner paid me a visit. He expressed sympathy for the disagreement between me and my former mentor. What crap. I made a substantial contribution to the company's operations, and he was only concerned that I would leave with valuable bills and compensated hours of work. He made several promises to me, but I insisted on everything being in writing. From that point forward, I was resolved not to let anyone control my happiness. I even kept this woman with me for a few enjoyable meetings. Why not? We're not inexperienced or unfamiliar with one another. She fled the instant I found something better. It's the same with the legal firm. I quit there on the same day that my contract terminated. I internalized my brother's suggestion. Since then, I've emphasized my personal pleasure while being true to my father's idea that our children come first. Sophia slipped into obscurity in my eyes. I decided to limit my interactions with her as much as possible. This became much easier a week after I met with Mr. Bigshot. John, I have some fantastic news, Sophia exclaimed at supper. The salon offered me a full-time management post. He'll have to work evenings and weekends at first, but I'm convinced you and the boys will be able to prepare your own meals for the time being. This layout worked perfectly. I left for work before Sophia awoke, and when I got home, she was already at her job as a salon manager. By the time she finished work, I was fast asleep. On her days off, I informed Sophia that I was participating in a darts league. In actuality, I chose to attend a couple of sessions with a therapist on my own. I discovered I wasn't much more messed up than the ordinary person. But more importantly, I realized that in addition to my responsibilities to my children, I was also accountable for my personal pleasure. What Sophia had done or would do was beyond my control. We are continually confronted with temptations, and it is our own weakness and duty to submit to them. To be honest, my sentiments for Sophia altered as soon as I lost trust in her. Eventually, I stopped caring about her ex. While the initial intensity of my resentment for her conduct diminished with time, the bad feelings persisted. My full emphasis was on my children. Sophia became more of a roommate with benefits. She was so caught up in her work that I doubt she even noticed. Meanwhile, the lads and I were having a great time. I obtained a big home equity loan and utilized it to build a swimming pool, an outside deck, as well as to remodel our basement into the perfect man cave. I swapped in my ordinary car for a big sedan with awful gas mileage and prime seat season tickets to every sporting event. My boys, Anna's children, and I rode in style in my sedan, functioning as the team chauffeur. I could comfortably accommodate the entire squad and all of their gear. Whether we won or lost, we celebrated with trips to the local pizza parlor or ice cream shop, which I paid for. Anna regularly joined us on our outings, and many people mistook us for a large family. I wish. Every time I joked, Anna gave me a perplexed look. Sophia routinely denied invitations, citing weariness from her demanding work schedule or a desire to relax on her days off. Eventually, the boys stopped asking. Several years later, my eldest son and Anna's firstborn attended the same college, with the latter earning a partial scholarship. Anna was unaware that I had funded her son's remaining expenditures. 3 years later, the same circumstance occurred with our last children. We are now brought to the present moment, and hey race my present dilemma: should I stay or go? Should I accept change or cling to my current situation? Sophia sat on our outdoor terrace, enjoying the last minutes of summer, holding a wine glass and gazing out over the pool. I returned after emptying away the debris of our vacation from the sedan and sat in a lounge chair opposite her. Sophia kept her eyes closed. "John, the house feels so empty now that the boys have left," Sophia murmured, taking another sip of her wine. "It's a big adjustment, but I'm ready for something fresh." After making my decision, I secretly thought, just you wait, honey, change is on the way. I put the papers on the glass table between us. "Sophia, I do not believe we should continue to be together. I want a divorce." Sophia jumped upright from her seat and grabbed the papers, quickly perusing them. "What is this nonsense, John?" "Sophia, these are only copies of the divorce petition. Once you have a lawyer, my attorney will send them the official documents. I have been fair. You can notice the savings. Are you out of your mind?" Sophia almost yelled. "After 20 years, you are abandoning me now? After everything we've gone through?" She proceeded to peruse the papers. "There is no alimony. Where is the split of savings? Debt from a shared residence? What are you aiming to accomplish?" I tried to remain composed. "Our wages are equivalent, and we have similar sums saved for retirement." That assertion was genuine because I had declined any raises associated with my recent promotions and had reduced my contributions to the 401k. I used it to finance my son's education expenditures. Sophia appeared astonished, constantly flipping over documents. "Our salaries are only equal because I work twice as many hours as you. I am not selling my house. I put too much work into it. Sophia, considering the home equity loan, we are underwater on the house. Where do you believe the money for this deck came from? Your new kitchen?" She slapped the papers on the table. "We are not divorcing. That concludes things." Suddenly, her thoughts appeared to light up. "You nasty creature." Sophia spat and jabbed her finger at me. "Did you find someone else? I gave you the best of my life, and now you want to leave me for a younger female?" Her face reddened with rage. "How long have you betrayed me, you deceitful swine?" "Please," I sighed. "Let's not get into that. It does not matter why. This is a fault-free state. Everything, assets and obligations, will be divided equitably. But Sophia was far from satisfied. You're mistaken, mister. It matters. I want to know, and I deserve to know. Who were you cheating on me with? I shook my head, speaking softly. Yes, there was infidelity. But please do not linger on it. It's best that we just. When she tossed her wine glass at me, my eyesight clouded for a second, and water flooded my face. As I stood up and proceeded to the kitchen, I felt the glass ricochet off my back and hit the floor. Sophia, enraged, followed me on my heels, continuing her verbal attacks. While I washed my face in the sink, she shouted, "You pathetic cheater. You cannot simply leave me because you want to have fun with another female. No wonder our connection has worsened in recent years. Okay, let me tell you something, gentlemen. I've had numerous opportunities in the past, but I never took advantage of them." Sophia's rant came to a sudden halt as I turned around and meticulously arranged images of her and Chris engaging in sexual activities on the kitchen table. With every new photo I posted, her expression of shock became more intense. She became pale and hurried to the sink, battling nausea. I browsed through the images and sat at the kitchen table. "Sophia, it appears that you took full use of previous opportunities." Sophia eventually finished vomiting, washed her mouth with tap water, splashed her face, and wiped it with a towel before joining me at the table. "Please, John, put those away." Sophia pushed the stack of images towards me with one finger, handling them like a dangerous snake. I put the photos in an envelope and tossed them into a drawer behind me. Sophia buried her face in her hands. "My God, I'm not sure what to say. I was tired, Sophia. It doesn't really matter. I do not care." Sophia reached for my arm. "John, please listen. It was only one time. You must trust me on this." "No, Sophia. I do not have to believe you on this, and I will not." I slumped back in my chair. "I mean, what, you'd never lie about cheating?" Sophia clutched my arm more tightly. "It seems like decades ago now. I never realized how difficult becoming a mother would be. I was continuously sleep-deprived while caring for the infant, and you were fatigued from work. I felt as though I was losing myself, simply being another mom for you." I moved my arm away. "I was working 2 jobs and studying for the sake of my family, so I don't want to hear about tiredness." "John, I understand," Sophia begged. "I wish I could undo everything." Chris was simply a fun drunk. His mother would occasionally come to watch the baby for a few minutes, allowing me to spend some time with adults and keep my sanity. I tried to stand up. "Sophia, I honestly don't care." Ignoring me, she proceeded. Chris was usually holding a drink, and I would eventually take a sip or two. He enjoyed snapping photos of me with his high-speed shutter camera. I began joking around, saying it was a major modeling shoot. Chris encouraged me, telling me how good I looked. "The camera loves me." Sophia bit her lip and met my gaze. It was just harmless fun that got out of control. I tugged my shirt down to display my shoulder or lifted it slightly to reveal my belly button. Before I knew it, I was down to my bra. It didn't seem like a big deal, given how many people show up at the beach. I noticed Sophia's eyes welling up with tears. So one day, I indicated that I wanted to offer you a photo for Christmas. Chris volunteered to take the shot for free. Everything went extremely nicely. The photo turned out fantastic. Following that, our son fell asleep on the couch in Chris' studio. She brushed away a tear in her eye. I thought he was going to sleep, so I didn't want to wake him up. So Chris and I had a drink. Well, one drink led to a bottle, and that was in between my red days and your hectic schedule. You and I haven't experienced bedtime intimacy in a long time. When Chris started taking images of me, my bad girl appeared. He made me feel quite gorgeous. I felt very naughty when I showed Chris, but he kept encouraging it as if we were having a genuine photo session. I thought I couldn't be more startled than when I viewed the images, but that wasn't true. "You mean you had pleasure with that damn drunk when my son was napping a few steps from you?" I mumbled. "My God, John, I am so ashamed. I am not sure what came over me. I was like, that's such a girl of easy virtue," I recommended. "Wait, I take it back. You traded your marriage for a photograph." Sophia sobbed and lowered her head to the table. I mentally berated myself. I would not treat a stranger in this manner, let alone someone I previously cared strongly for. Sophia, we cannot change the past, but we can take responsibility for our actions. Please sign these papers. Well, just say we drifted apart. Nobody outside our immediate family needs to know. John urged Sophia, raising her tear-stained face from the table. It does not have to be like this. Please, that happened so long ago. It was insignificant and only a blip, a useless error with no lasting consequences. I took another set of documents from the folder and placed them in front of Sophia, who scanned over them. Sophia, every action has repercussions. Some are more crucial than others. What is this, John? Sophia inquired, scanning the charts and graphs scattered throughout the pages. These are our family's DNA test results and blood types. As you can see, one of us does not match, I explained. Sophia gripped her chest and gasped for air. I hurriedly retrieved a paper bag from the kitchen closet. Breathe into this, I urged, placing the bag in her shaky hands. You're hyperventilating. Just slow down. Take in natural breaths through your nose. It's easy. Sophia's breathing returned to normal after about a minute. I returned to my seat at the table as she placed the paper bag down, her color gradually returning. Sophia, did you know all along? I stated, more of an observation than a question. Sophia started shaking her head, twisting the paper bag in her hands. I see. I had my suspicions, but I remained hopeful. I prayed, but I never really knew for sure, her words faltered. Sophia, please, I urged. You graduated from high school with honors in biology, if I recall correctly. You must have thought I was a fool when I believed in the concept of premature birth and babies arriving early. Nonsense, you fed me. Can you blame me for doubting anything you say? You not only deceived me, but you forced me to raise another man's child. It was not like that, John, Sophia protested. After Chris and me, I felt so humiliated. I couldn't tolerate anyone's touch, not even yours. I told myself that I'd be the best mother and wife, but when I discovered I was pregnant, I panicked. I had nightmares about you abandoning me, taking our son, and forcing me to do something horrific. Sophia, have I ever threatened you during our time together? Did I ever force you to do something against your will? You understand how much family matters to me, how I was reared. I halted, rubbing my temples. If you'd come to me, we could have worked things out. Instead, you chose to lie. It was only one lie, John, Sophia claimed. No, Sophia, it wasn't a single lie. That was a lie every day till now. Every day you decided to live and spread a lie. Sophia claimed that she had no option. You always had a choice, Sophia. You could have approached me at any time. Instead, you chose to promote that deception, and am not sure how many others. Now it is up to me. Thank you, John, Sophia pleaded. Don't tell the boys. The era of deception has ended. Children who are exposed to secrecy and deception lose faith in what they are told. They get insecure and dependent. When the family's foundation breaks, there may be no true connections remaining. The kids feel abandoned. So you either inform them or I do. My God, Sophia exclaimed. What should I say? Boys, your mother made a terrible mistake by betraying your father? I couldn't help smiling. Sophia, you might want to skip the section about the cheap, deceitful, ungrateful girl from the slums. How about we explain to the boys that their mother made a mistake, but they are still our boys and our love for them remains constant. The boys handled it really nicely, given the ubiquity of step-parents, two-parent households, and blended families among their acquaintances. It appeared that our position did not bother them too much. Sophia, on the other hand, felt bitter. She insisted we could find a solution, lamenting the waste of the house on which we had worked so hard, but ID hit my limit and wanted to go on. Interestingly, dealing with the house proved to be more difficult than the divorce itself. Our bank, Summit Bank, made it extremely difficult to return the property. They impeded our attempts at short sales and offered contradictory information, with different personnel responding to the same questions. The paperwork was enormous, and it felt as if we were single-handedly diminishing Texas Woods through written requests. Fortunately, my brother David obtained the assistance of a legal specialist in real estate transactions and legislation, who swiftly established that the big bank had violated not only their own standards but also multiple state and federal regulations intended to protect homeowners with underwater mortgages. In an unusual turn of events, Summit Bank ended up owing us money. Despite being served with 4 registered letters, they failed to appear at the court hearing, resulting in a default judgment in which we were granted the house as well as court and attorney expenses. Things took a dramatic turn when our attorney, backed by 2 armed sheriffs, a writ, and a moving company, appeared at a giant bank branch to seize assets, furniture, and computer equipment after the bank ignored several notices to pay attorney expenses. Local reporters flocked to the site, and even onlookers pitched in to help remove bank fixtures. As the surprised bank manager sought to call someone higher up, with his office phone seized, he turned to his personal cell phone. When the David versus Goliath story received national exposure, our attorney and I briefly became superstars. While we are grateful for the unexpected purchase of the house, it has complicated our divorce settlement. Sophia was adamant that she would not sell the house immediately. After much discussion, she agreed to pay me half of the rental value plus utilities, such as gas, electricity, and water. We would split insurance and taxes equally, and any future sale proceeds would also be distributed evenly. Following my recent divorce, like any middle-aged male, I rented a dingy apartment while I worked out my future steps. Naturally, I joined a gym in an effort to get back in shape. Despite my antipathy to the gym, I found myself in the reception area, dreading my next lesson with my personal trainer. I heard a familiar voice. "John. Oh my goodness, it's great to see you." I turned around to see Anna, my former neighbor. She looked great, dressed in tight training gear with the gym's emblem. Anna greeted me with an embrace. Her figure remained solid as ever, and I couldn't help but have a similar reaction. "Anna, you look wonderful," I remarked as she let me go. "What brought you here?" "I work here, John, part-time at least," Anna responded, glancing at the clipboard she was carrying. "And it appears I will be your personal trainer tonight. So, which machine would you like to start with? How about that vending machine?" I was joking. "I will purchase you the candy bar of your choice." Anna chuckled as she guided me through a maze of daunting gym equipment, a big cry from what I recall from my high school gym days. I tried to hide any susceptibility, but after 90 minutes, I vomited twice. In typical pseudo-macho form, I lied, blaming my frequent trips to the bathroom on excessive coffee drinking at work. The weights at the gym must have been in metric units because pounds never felt so heavy. Anna took pity on me and suggested we meet at a coffee shop after I staggered off to the locker room. She looked fresh and radiant as she grabbed my arm while we waited in line at a nearby cafe, whereas I felt completely tired. "Anna, when did ordering coffee get so complicated?" Bewildered by her extensive specifications, I commented to the cashier, "I recall when there were just 3 options: small, medium, and giant." Anna chuckled. Her familiar high-pitched chuckle echoed in my ears. "John, simply tell the barista what you want, and he will prepare it for you." "Barista? Good grief." I shook my head in astonishment. "All good then. Give me something a guy can drink during a football game without being mocked." Anna swatted my shoulder as we sought a table. "John, I truly miss you." "Hell, Anna, you just miss having someone do the free house repairs." Anna breathed lightly on her coffee before responding. "So there's that." "I'm sad for you and Sophia," she replied, taking a sip. "It's difficult to believe she cheated on you." I almost choked on my coffee. "What? Who? How? How did you find out?" Anna paused for a moment before setting down her cup. "Nobody told me. I've known you and Sophia for a long time," she explained. "It's just an elderly cop's wife intuition. Sophia has always had that 'I hope I don't get caught' look, that look at what I got away with. She exudes a certain energy." I contemplated Anna's comments. "So, Sophia has never confided in you?" She shrugged. "No, John, she didn't. Would it matter to you if she did, if you know more information?" I shook my head. "No, it's not about cheating, though that is part of it. It's more about the deception and lack of trust. I have about the same chance of trusting Sophia again as a blind man with a microscope. Without trust," I gestured, "what is the point? The marriage is over." I sought to lighten the mood by explaining the amusing details of our home bank repo meeting. as well as the unusual position of sharing a house with Sophia, which made Anna laugh. I found myself absolutely enjoying the experience. We were both enjoying the chat so much that we lost count of time. Anna suddenly glanced at her watch. I hate to cut this short, John, but I have to leave. The last bus is going to leave. Not a problem, Anna. I will give you a lift. Thanks so much. My automobile will not start. I think it's the starter, and with work lowering my hours, money has been tight. I will have to wait until payday to have it mended. I checked my watch. Stop waiting, Anna. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Let's get a starter and fix it right now. We can get to the car parts store before it closes. That would be incredible, John. For the past month, I've been leaving home several hours early every day to catch the buses. And it's still a 30-minute walk from the closest station to work. Anna hesitated. But I do not have the money right now. I motioned for her to dismiss it. Forget about it. You really need a car. Well, arrange for repayment whenever you're in a better financial position. Plus, all of my gear and things are still with Maymin in Sophia's garage. I have not gotten around to moving them yet. Standing up, I extended my arm towards her. Come on, fair lady, the Tesla Model 3 Chariot awaits. Anna gave me a puzzled look. A hybrid Prius? What happened to your gigantic, muscular, manly sedan? I grimaced. I grew bored of continuously stopping at petrol stations every day. I felt as if my carbon imprint was killing a portion of the rainforest. Everyone keeps being judgmental of me. It looks like I did something wrong. Anna seemed amused. I picture you in a hybrid. Yeah, I can almost feel my testosterone levels decreasing as I squeeze into that plastic jelly bean. You know how it goes with us fellas, size matters. She chuckled as I opened the car door for her. We were lucky to find a starter for Anna's automobile at the auto store. Finally, it was on sale. Even though Sophia wasn't home, I still had the garage door code and the necessary tools, and 90 minutes later, I got Anna's car working nicely. Anna was overjoyed and held me firmly, laying a large kiss on my lips. I was unable to reciprocate the embrace because I was holding a greasy instrument, however. Another tool further south was making itself known. If Anna noticed, she didn't say it. But while washing up, I noticed the water spigot wouldn't totally shut off and the drain was slow to dry my hands. I motioned towards the sink. Anna, why didn't you tell me? I could have corrected it. John, I knew you and Sophia were struggling with bigger issues. I did not want to bother you with minor matters. Besides, with the work cuts, I couldn't afford it. She turned away, but I noticed tears in her eyes. I am not someone to be pitied. I approached her and draped my arm across her shoulder. This is not charity. It's simply one neighbor helping out. I reassured her with a soft squeeze. Plus, I have a lot of free time now, and it appears that you have some responsibilities that require your attention. How about we write a list like Kris Kringle, double-check it. Now be a dear and bring me a pen and some paper. Anna blotted her eyes, yet a slight grin formed on her lips as she regarded me. All right, Santa. But if you're overly generous, I can't promise I won't be a little naughty. I spent the next fortnight visiting Anna's residence whenever I had free time. There was no need for extensive renovations, just a few minor tasks such as mending screen mesh, rusting door hinges, and caulking splash guards. Although I didn't get to see her mischievous side, I enjoyed our time together. One evening, after a few glasses of wine, Anna opened up about her first husband. Steve was a kind man, always willing to help people. He was sadly slain when a drunk driver hit him. He was not even on duty at the time. Head stopped on his way home from the gym to help a lady with a flat tire. The wicked drunk did not slow down. She paused to take another sip from her drink. But he was a fighter. He held on for 5 days. Do you remember the last thing he said to me? I stayed mute. Anna, tears streaming down her cheeks, conveyed that her husband's final words were not for himself but for his family. He pleaded, look after our boys, take care of our boys, and take care of yourself. I approached her and comforted her as she proceeded. I never thought it would be like this. We did not receive any survivor benefits because he was not on duty. His small life insurance coverage helped us obtain this home. The police force cares after its own, and his comrades were always helpful. However, I needed to relocate regardless of their goodwill. Being near them acted as a continual reminder of his death. I never imagined it would be that difficult. I let Anna cry, knowing that sometimes quiet speaks more than words. The following morning, I was under the bathroom sink, repairing the drain, when I felt a tap on my foot. "John, where did you disappear last night?" I heard Anna's voice question. I returned to my scruffy little apartment. I responded, removing the drain trap. "You were very out of it, so I made sure you were in bed before leaving." Coming out from under the sink, I extended my hand to show Anna the jammed drain trap. "Goodness, look at all the hair. Have you ever bathed a long-haired dog in the sink?" Suddenly, the front door opened, and I heard footsteps and a high-pitched voice. "Where is he? What are you doing to my spouse, you terrible woman?" I lifted my head out from beneath the sink, smacking my forehead in the process. I saw Sophia's feet in the bathroom doorway. "You are a wretch," Sophia screamed at Anna. "Leave him alone." I jumped to my feet, putting myself between a shocked Anna and an angry Sophia. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" I inquired, hoping to settle the atmosphere. Sophia shifted her focus from Anna to me. "John, I know exactly what's going on. Every night you leave this woman's house unkempt and sweaty, as if you had worked in the fields. I understand what you've been up to." She stopped as if to gather herself. "I realize you want to get back at me, but you've had your fun with this woman. It is time for us to reconcile." I was so stunned that I couldn't say anything. "Sophia, reconciliation is not an option. A squandered opportunity. Aside from that, Anna and I had nothing before." Before Anna said anything, I felt her arms wrap around me from behind. "That's correct, Sophia. Nothing occurred. But you know what? That will change soon. My husband, God rest his soul, always reminded me to take care of myself, and I'm going to start right now by taking your ex-husband upstairs and doing anything I can for him." Sophia and I stood speechless. Anna stepped away from me and led Sophia out the open front door. "Don't be a stranger. Call me first. We will be busy for a while." Anna closed the door behind Sophia, who remained mute. When Anna returned to me, I found my words. "Anna, it happened. Thank you for your encouragement and self-esteem boost, but it was unnecessary." Anna stood directly in front of me. "Are you certain you want to continue?" Anna hugged me. "John, I have known you for longer than I have known my husband. I loved him more than anybody else and fulfilled my commitments to him by raising our boys. Now it's time to keep another commitment he made to himself to take care of himself." She took my hand and brought me upstairs to the bedroom. I couldn't tell who was more anxious. I was concerned about not messing things up, and Anna hadn't been in a relationship with a man in about 20 years. However, similar to riding a bike, we kept our balance and found the appropriate tempo. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Anna said, "John, you should move in with me." It was a declaration, not a question. "Wait, that is certainly a bold statement. Aren't you concerned that this could just be a rebound?" Anna raised herself up on her elbow, allowing me to admire her incredible physique. "John, we've been pals for the majority of our lives," she began, lifting her hand to prevent any further interjection from me. "We're too mature to play games. It is a mutually advantageous partnership. You need a place to stay. I also have a vacancy. I value you and you value me. I have my wants and you have your own. Why pay rent to an unidentified landlord when you can use that money to pay off your mortgage? Besides, you know this house better than anyone else." "But Anna, won't this be awkward?" I pointed across the street to my former home where Sophia lived. Anna simply shrugged. "Not my concern. I've stopped worrying about other people's opinions. Your opinion is what matters. Your former house is still in your name. That is a huge investment, and what better way to protect it than to keep an eye on it daily?" So we complied. Felt strange for a while. Sophia carried residual anger over the entire ordeal. She seemed incapable of moving forward. "Damn you, John," Sophia exclaimed one day while I was mending a crack in her driveway. "When are you returning home? This is lunacy. You understand that you belong with me. What can I do? I apologize for everything. Simply tell me what needs to be done to make this all disappear." I saved the sealant before answering. Sophia, you're sorry and so am I. The truth is we are not reconciling. You need to get on with your life. Find someone else. Like who? Sophia replied. I work at a salon with non-traditional hairdressers, and the majority of my clientele are first wives. She looked down at the ground. I never imagined I'd be one of them. I stayed silent and started gathering my equipment. Thank you, John, Sophia begged. Can't you give me another chance? Let us forgive and forget for the sake of our sons. With the holidays approaching, we need to be together. Sophia, I have forgiven you, but you passed up possibilities every day for more than a decade. As for forgetting, I shook my head. The holidays are definitely approaching. The boys will be home from school, and we will be able to enjoy separate dinners at both your and Anna's homes, with all of the kids like we used to. Sophia crossed her arms defiantly. I refuse to have that woman in my home. I will not enter that woman's residence. I just shrugged. I guess we will miss you. Given their parents' new living arrangements, I predicted that the children would find the holidays uncomfortable. However, my anxiety was unfounded, as both sets of children adapted successfully. It's a good result, but it's remarkable how little appears to bother their generation. Isn't it? The lads managed to attend 2 dinners without disturbing either mother. Eventually, the kids persuaded Sophia to pay a brief visit to Anna's house before Christmas. Even if Anna invited her to stay longer, Sophia declined. Anna assures me that she has no ill will towards Sophia, and that I am welcome to spend time at her property for repairs or events involving my boys and Sophia. I doubt they'll ever rebuild their friendship, but Sophia appears to be warming up and becoming more courteous with Anna over time. After a year together, I'm overjoyed. It is not the blazing passion of our youth, but a deeper, more mature love founded on affection and respect. However, I felt compelled to discuss the legalization of our connection with Anna. John, you were fantastic, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But I promised myself I would only marry once. I hope you understand. To be honest, I struggled to grasp, but I remembered my father's words, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And that's how John's life changed from betrayal to new beginnings. But what would you do, forgive and stay or move on? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.